make sure you are a master before you teach. Whenever you're thinking about these systems, make it as simple as possible. If you've never cold called or never called online leads and haven't successfully time after time closed deals off that system, do not expect your agents to be able to do it. So I feel like the number one buzzword in any business conference, real estate conference, anything in general is systems. So systems are hugely important, but I think we put way too much emphasis on how necessarily complicated they have to be effective. If I can say anything to start this video, it's about building effective systems, not complicated systems. Effective systems that you can put into daily practice that'll give you ROI, return on investment, and ROT, return on time. Okay, so for the first system, or first part of the systems I should say, that I want to chat about for an effective real estate team is to make sure that you are providing your team with marketing and lead generation. It's important to remember that roughly 90% of all agents that join a team, two concerns: A, it's education and training and mentorship. B is leads. Where am I gonna get leads from? And I think this is something that we always have to remember when getting into real estate. The main difference between the mega producers and those that are just barely above the poverty line is not how well they treat their clients or what their customer service is like, it's who can get more clients. So when it comes to sales and marketing, and lead generation, there's a couple of things that we need to take into factor and consideration. A, what is the niche of your team? Does your team have a niche? And what I mean by niche, do you focus on specific areas? Do you, like my team, sells everywhere, but we're very focused on new construction, pre-sales and marketing. That's kind of our niche. The reason why that's important to note is later on when we create training systems, one of the things that I see people fail on over and over and over again is they offer a massive variety of sales lead generation, yet they're training to make sure that they can optimize the leads that are coming in from those different platforms are nowhere near the level they need to basically be able to capitalize on those leads. And if you're not capitalizing on those leads, your ROI and your ROT go to shit. When it comes to marketing, first of all, we need to know a rough niche so we can know where we're putting our ad spend. We can know where we're going to be training to. We can know all these different types of things. You need to have a direct sales lead generation system. And what I mean by that is something like, I'm not a huge fan of Zillow, but let's just say a Zillow account, something like online lead generation. For myself, I want to be able to track and have something accountable that I can hand over to my agents. Here's 100 leads. This is where they came from, and the source can be up to you. We can do another video if you guys want to see where I personally get all my sources of leads from. We'll shoot that down in the comments and I'll make a video if that's something you guys are interested in. But let's just say we're gonna do online lead generation. We're gonna do open houses is gonna be a major portion. We are going to do door knocking, whatever it is. We just need to make sure that the systems are in place. And what do I mean by the system for the sales and marketing? I want you to make sure for your agents, the biggest thing is to get the best return on investment for you is you need to get the best return on time for them. It's a very important calculation to make and understand. And what I mean by that is, if you have an agent that is personally coming up with the designs for the flyers they're going to be using, they're personally coming up with the areas that they're going to be knocking. They personally have to come up with a script and learn that script and invent it themselves. They personally have to, you are having an agent that is spending 50 to 70% of their time in this analysis paralysis or busy work, I like to call it, section that you should have your admin staff doing for them. Where you want them is you want them executing the skill sets that you've taught them to be able to get those clients. Sales and marketing, and I will dive deeper into a video on this, but understanding your niche of where your team's going, you need to know the type of lead sources that you're going to be investing in. One of the things that I highly recommend is too many teams yo-yo on whatever the fancy thing is this month. You should be planning all of your marketing and executing all of your lead generation for a bare minimum 6-month period, but I generally put 12 months to 18 months behind any plan that I'm going to execute because A, it takes time for the skill set level to come up there to see the true returns, and B, it also takes time to really see the fruits of that labor that you're putting out. Okay, the second system after sales and marketing, but is combined with all of that, is tracking. So I think this is incredibly important, and this is probably the main differentiator between mega producing teams and those that are squeaking by, I would say, is that they don't track anything. And so tracking your expenses is one thing, but tracking your performance is almost more important. It's impossible to know what your return on investment is or your return on time is without knowing the numbers associated with it. So I want you to ask yourself, do you know how many calls per week, how many doors knocked, how many client meetings, how many client appointments, how many client contracts, how many anything is written from your team a week, daily? How accessible is this information to you? Do you know what your cost per click, your cost per conversion, your cost per everything is on the lead sources that you use? Do you know what your admin costs you per transaction? Do you know what every agent's basically return is? So what is your average expenditure per agent versus what you make on them per year? What is your cost per transaction? Like, these are all things that you should know if you're going to run a business. The problem with real estate is because we're in a different type of market where it's almost like a flowing sales job, that most people are just running with the system. And I've been there 100 times, so I'm not trying to put blame onto those that are doing it, but the reality is if you don't know your numbers and don't have systems in place to track all of it, it's very hard to make educated decisions on what you're going to be doing next in your business. And so what I mean by that is you may think right now that, wow, we get to make a ton of money off online leads because we spent 100 grand and we made 500 grand last year off of it. But if you actually broke that down, you would find that, okay, we actually only made 150,000 because the rest was spin-off referral business and open houses and all the other stuff that we're doing. So I want to know not just holistically what my cost is, where my leads are coming from, what my best return is, but I want to even know specifically based on an event. If I'm going to be putting an event out there that's going to cost me $5,000, how many leads did I get off that? How many deals did I close? And I'm going to track that over a year period. So everybody that's associated to that one specific event or networking system or whatever it is I put in place, I want to know, hey, did you know within the last 2 years that event cost me 5 grand, but we've generated 16 transactions at a total of $106,000 in commission. I want to know these things to better plan, because if not, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be like, oh, that event was awesome. We should do it again. And sure, if it's just your brand building exercise or whatever, that could be something worthwhile to you. But if I don't know what I'm getting on return, I may do it again where I didn't make any money, or I might scrap the thing where I did make 100 grand. You know what I mean? So it's very, very important to track. Some of the people out there in the real estate world are using programs like Sisu. I'm not affiliated to any of these. We've used CTE for quite a while, but there's a lot of things. You can use basic Excel sheets. Most of these online lead generation sites have some kind of CRM based on built in that will track all of the actual activities that your agents are doing. But I would highly recommend this being systemized. And if you can do that, the best case scenario is you as the team lead should have a weekly or bi-weekly update with your admin staff on what is being done. And this is also gonna kind of lead into one of our next categories, which is training, because I'm gonna know, and a lot of people think, well, Sean, this seems like micromanaging. Well, listen, if Susie is doing 100 calls a day and not booking any appointments, whereas everybody else is doing 50 calls and booking 1 appointment or 2 appointments or 3 appointments, then I know it's not the leads, it's Susie needs help on some part of the system of her call, right? Or some part of her pitch or her script or whatever it is. So now it's not to sit down with Susie during my check-ins and say, hey, you suck, I'm gonna fire you. No, it's gonna be like, hey, awesome job making those 100 calls or those conversations. You're putting in the effort. I wanna make sure you're maximizing that effort and getting the results that you deserve. Let's take some time to go over these scripts. Let's go back and forth, role play them, and make sure that you're getting them right. And then I can track, okay, she's been memorizing this. I can put her to work on it. And then I revisit it in 2 weeks. She's still doing her calls, better performance, worse performance, whatever, we can revisit, and it helps with training. Otherwise, what's gonna happen is, and I've had this a million times, an agent comes to you and I'll be like, hey, how many calls did you do? I did tons of calls. Oh, awesome. But yeah, the leads all suck. I don't know how many times I've heard this in the past when I'm not tracking. Because the reality is, Bruce behind the camera might think 1,000 calls is a ton of calls, right? And Jolene down the street might think 10 or 15 calls is a lot of calls, right? So I don't want anything that's not factual in front of me to deter my opinion on what's happening or not. okay? So tracking is incredibly important. Put that system into place. Third system. So this system will vary depending on what state, province, country, whatever you're in. And this is contract and client management. Okay, so this should be done, well, I'll give you an example for us. All of our listing contracts are pre-populated, completely done by our admin staff. The only thing our team does is pick the CMA, so the comparable market analysis with the different solds and or just listeds in the area. They send that to our marketing team. Our marketing team creates a customized CMA or listing package. We have a full listing brochure, which is like 9 pages long, that's super detailed. If you are interested in seeing our listing presentation, leave a comment below and or reach out to me and I'll try to send it over to you. That is all done. So basically all my agent has to do is show up, know what they're talking about, sign the contract, drop that contract off with the admin, or if it's by DigiSign or something like that, send it in. Everything else from there on is completely systemized. So what I mean by that, the sign gets put out by a company, the videographer, Bruce behind the camera, comes there, does the videos and pictures, our floor plan guy is sent out, admin does everything. All the agent does, sign the contract, move on to the next deal, and then work the open houses, etc. If that's applicable or legal where you are, then maybe. On the buy side, obviously that's a lot different because every property is different, so my agents write the buy contracts. But once again, all of that is already pre-prepared for them. So when they come into a buyer's representation meeting, they're gonna have their buyer's package with them. They're gonna have, all the steps and guide process that we use with our buyers. They're gonna have everything in place. All they have to do is when they write the offer, which is more or less pre-populated with 80% of the clauses in there. Write the offer, and once again, send that all into our team, and our team will take care of all the conveyancing aspect and everything that's associated with it. So pretty simple. Now, the client management portion is a little bit different. And what I mean by that is in all the listings, our admin team basically takes care of, as I mentioned, booking the videographers, booking designers and or stagers, booking all those different types of things directly with the client. They're also there to notify them, 3 weeks out, making sure that the lawyer information's in place, making sure all the other stuff, so that client system process is all automated and everything is just calendar based. It's very simple. Once you get an accepted offer, we have a subject removal or due diligence period, deposits are given, everything is subsequently put into calendars and just automatically updated so our clients understand where they are in the process. All of this should be done via the admin, and the agent is really just checking into making sure everything is okay. Simple as that. They're there to be the customer service rep and make sure that everything is going well, while all the actual steps, paperwork, and everything that needs to be done that can legally be done by an admin is being done by the admin. And this is important because, once again, that ROI and the ROT that you want from your agent should be out there getting the next client, closing that deal, doing showings, etc. So I won't hammer in on that. I think most people understand the importance of that, but I would definitely, whenever you're thinking about these systems, make it as simple as possible. You don't have to have 50 different things doing it, simple as possible, but it's always going to be bringing you better return on time and a return on investment, particularly for your agent. Funny enough, Bruce, what did you just get a text message for?
Admin.
Admin, and what's the admin texting you about?
Oh, booking shoots, getting a photographer ready, getting Sean ready.
There we go. So even this session is booked by my admin, right? Even though Bruce and I are buddies and talk all the time, reality is everything's booked in by my admin. He just got booked for a video shoot for one of the listings coming up, etc. So it's all automated. I'm here talking to you guys, and he's getting message for the next work stop. So last but not least, this is incredibly important, and I think this is something that ties everything together and brings the level of your team from barely producing to top producers. And this is having an appropriate training system put in place. I'm gonna start with, it's the best way to put this, I'm gonna start this as friendly as I possibly can, but I also mentioned this in my previous video. If in training, you need to understand that you cannot teach if you are not already a master of. Okay, and so what I mean by that is, I've seen many real estate teams have 20, 30, 40 agents that they average transactions is maybe 2 or 3 deals a year per agent. The team itself, lead, might be doing okay because they're making 50% of that. But for me, when my agents are living in poverty, that is never okay for me. Why is that? And these teams claim to have amazing onboarding and training And that may be the case where they'll show you how to write a contract and so on and so forth. But all of their training is based off of a booklet or a guide. So these things are important because they can steer you in the right direction. So it's not a bad thing to have it systemized and you can be able to hand over, but understand that you cannot learn sales, you cannot learn scripts, you cannot learn any of these things from somebody that doesn't know how to do it. If you've never cold called or never called online leads, and haven't successfully time after time closed deals off that system, do not expect your agents to be able to do it. And so that's when I talk about the very beginning of knowing your niche. If you are the type of guy that's amazing at building a referral business, you should be teaching that. If you want to implement online leads, then you need to bring in a partner or a team manager or somebody that is awesome at doing it. If you suck at it, they're going to suck at it. It's simple as that. Please understand that whatever you're going to teach, be very proficient in it for two reasons. A, you're gonna teach them bad habits and they're not gonna get the results that you need from it. And B, they're never gonna wanna do it because they know you've never done it and or do it. So why would they join a team with a successful agent, hopefully, that is teaching them stuff that they didn't become successful off of? It's very, very important. I'm just going to reiterate this. Make sure you are a master before you teach. I cannot overemphasize this enough. I see way too many teams failing time and time and time again, or their agents failing time and time and time again because they're being taught by people that don't know what they're teaching. Next to that, you should look at what type of agent you're bringing onto your team. So if you're bringing on new agents, you should have a appropriate system in place, or make sure your brokerage does, like ours has contract classes and all these other things. We want to leverage that. So you want to make sure that you have contract classes, you have the basic script and calling information, you have follow-up classes, you have all the training they need to learn and understand to make sure, and this is one of the reasons why we track, that they're calling, for example, I'm just gonna use online leads for an example. When they're calling online leads, they're all gonna start at like booking one appointment for every 200 conversations, for example. We wanna make sure within the next 6 months, because of the training you have in place, because of the scripts you have in place, because of the day-on-day practice that you're telling them to do and doing with, they're going to go from that 200 to 50 conversations. You want to be able to track their level of success based on the volume of the work they're doing, right? And understand that their skill set is increasing. Because if you build somebody's skill set, your ROI and ROT will dramatically build with it, right? So incredibly important to have this structured system based on what your team does. And this is why people ask me, okay, Sean, like, can you just send me over what your training system is? Well, my training system changes depending on what my niche focus is. Like today, I'll get Bruce to show some B-roll here, but today, and it's gonna be another video, I think, I was going over the scripts for bringing people into our showroom or a presentation center for a brand new condo project that we're selling. Every system that I bring in is a little bit customized towards the people I'm training, towards the niche that I'm doing. So I think that's very important. Now, if you're looking to see how to build out a proper training system for your team, please reach out to me. We do coach that and teach that. You can sign up above in my link tree there. It's incredibly important. Like the questions I'm gonna ask you is just like what I'm talking about here. What is your niche? How did you build your business? What are you proficient in? Because it's going to be based on you. And understanding that is incredibly important. So build that training system around who your strengths are, what your strengths are. If you want to implement other things for additional leverage, I completely understand, but make sure you're bringing in somebody incredibly strong if you are not in that particular sector. So those are the high-level overview of the systems that you need to have to run a successful team. I will go into more specifics because I know people ask me all the time, they want to see point per point. So we will do some videos in the future, but please let me know what more systems or whatever you'd like to learn more about when it comes to building a successful team. Listen, I started my team in 2016. Yeah, so 8 years ago, we started doing, and I've learned this the hard way over and over and over again. We started doing hundreds of transactions maybe 5 or 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Systems do play a major part. Just don't become that leader that gets stuck in analysis paralysis and is just trying to find, there's nothing wrong with AI, there's nothing wrong with all these other tools. Oh, my preference to everything is, if you want it, you need to make a business that's repeatable. That KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, always wins and always prevails. So try to keep it as simple as possible, know your numbers, make sure every system that you implement is surrounded by two key factors: your return on investment, how much money am I making off of every dollar I spend, and my return on time, right? So when I put this amount of time and effort into it, how much time am I saving in return? You want to make sure, you got to ask yourself this question every single time: are my agents doing the best possible return on investment and return on time? Are they working strictly with clients, or are they doing admins type stuff? So if you have more questions, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my other videos. We got some pretty cool videos in the pipeline. We are going to start a podcast here shortly as well. I've got some amazing big names I've been blessed that said yes to being a part of this. So please stay tuned. Like, subscribe, and if you're interested in any coaching or being a part of my real estate team and or brokerage, if you're in the British Columbia area, please let me know. I'd love to work with you. Till next time, take it easy.